The Third Side of the Coin, brought to you by XCaliber Coaching and Consulting.
Hello, and welcome to the Third Side of the Coin podcast, episode 11, Imposter Syndrome and Self-Doubt. My name is Aberle, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Tim Wong. I'm the president of XCaliber Coaching and Consulting, a leadership and career coaching firm that partners with current and aspiring leaders going through career transition. My co-host, Tim Wong, is a content curator focusing on thought leadership for YPO and defining learning themes for programming globally relevant top leadership learning events. He is also an international faculty for the Art of Living Foundation and the International Association of Human Values. Thank you so much for joining me today, Tim.
Hi, Alex. How are you today?
I am doing amazing, Tim. How are you? It's been a while. What did you
Yeah.
have to?
I've just been off my feet, literally. I mean, just so much to do.
I have seen something that you said on social media that was a bit concerning to me because, I'm all about the wellness, not just the physical wellness, but also mental well-being. Are you getting more sleep now since it sounded like
No, not sleep. It's like I think once the project is delivered, then I will get back my natural circadian rhythm.
So it's a large project that's driving you.
Yeah, because it's European timings and West Coast timings. So it's 24/7, literally.
Right, and you are in Sydney.
I'm in
so
Sydney, so yeah.
It's definitely
So
tough.
it's like the early mornings is when everything happens.
Mm.
So it's just everything's flipped.
Right. It sounds like a lot of us and people who are trying to run organizations are probably on the flipped schedule, trying to find their footing and make the decisions of what exactly to do and what the right thing is to do. I wanted to talk about something that comes up more and more frequently. And as a matter of fact, I just saw the article posted in Forbes on the 23rd of September. The headline was LinkedIn research reveals rise of executive imposter syndrome. And in this article, they're posting some facts about the new research revealing how C-level executives have to navigate their organizations through the global pandemic. And I'm quoting here, with more than 2/3 or 69% finding it the most challenging experience of their career. What do you think about this executive imposter syndrome?
I think that Harvard Business Review defines imposter syndrome as a feeling of inadequacy that persists when there is evident success. So there's a sense of inadequacies, although everything around you is proving that you are successful. So that's imposter syndrome. And I've noticed that whether you call it imposter syndrome or whether you call it, have I done enough? Or have I pushed myself or reached my full potential, is something similar as well. And what I've been noticing now is some CEOs do not have a business anymore because of the economy, of what's happened with COVID. Some are dealing with considerably scaled back businesses, but there are some that are flourishing right now. Businesses that are purely online or in the services that has sort of exploded with the COVID pandemic. So I have noticed that there's a lot of personal doubt coming up now because we really cannot see what the future is playing out to be, especially with the various things that are happening around the globe, whether it's the pandemic in its second, third, some are even the fourth resurgence, or the changing political environment across multiple countries that's happening right now. It creates this really sense of, well, what's next? What are we doing?
Yeah, and I see the same thing, more than ever in the small business type of environment. There's that sense of uncertainty that's amplified because the reality is we don't know what we don't know, and we can say, well, life in general is uncertain, but that does not necessarily compare to the scale that everything has been happening. The small business enterprises that just started gaining momentum right before the pandemic really hit the world super hard. They're seeing that not only their approaches, but also that connection to the rest of the community where they can brainstorm is also lacking. You would think that the remote and virtual type of environment is going to or would have solved that problem, but unfortunately, there's again that human element that you and I talked at length about that is missing. Some businesses and those business owners that I've even known that started finally picking up speed and getting more customers attracted to their businesses, they just did not have the right infrastructure to all of a sudden change their business model to, let's say, e-commerce. And even if they did, there's still the gap because you have already, established businesses. It's hard to steal the customers, right? It takes years to build the customer base. So I can definitely see that self-doubt. You could be presenting the most brave face, but ultimately that imposter syndrome, it's a real thing and it's becoming difficult.
We really, a lot of times with self-doubt, we only reflect on it. Actually, we don't even reflect on self-doubt, what it is. And before, I used to see self-doubt as a sense of lacking. I mean, that's a very easy way of approaching of what it actually is. But as you do more self-reflection, introspection, you journal, and other things for you to just take assessment of your daily life or monthly, whatever, whenever you write or look at or introspect, you would begin to see that self-doubt is really lack of self-knowledge. The doubt that comes up is you always doubt the positive. If someone says, I hate you, you never doubt that. But if someone says, I love you, what happens? Really?
People start doubting, yeah.
Yeah. What are they up to? So there's sort of an inherent, I think, cultural thing for most people that you doubt the positive. We don't ever say it that way, right? But if we start looking at that way, then it sort of starts changing your mindset in that it's not to be over courageous or overconfident about something, but at the same time, don't shortchange yourself. Know that when self-doubt comes up, that there is something positive that you are underestimating. And do whatever you can to uncover it and go look for it. The other day I was approached by a good friend of mine, and they're going through a very tough stage right now. And there was absolutely nothing I could do for them. It's a personal relationship that there is nothing, you can't intervene in something like that. And as we were talking, I realized that although the situation is so out of your hands, whether it's for me or whether it's for my friend, what you can do is really how you yourself go through it. And that is what we call resilience or agility. That's what everyone's talking about right now. Mm-hmm. You need to be strong yourself to go through the ambiguity and change ahead. Because if you're unable to carry yourself, then how are you going to be able to carry other people around you? Especially in a situation when it's relationship-based and you're uncertain about things, then you can approach the situation as it's going to end, I'm not good enough, or let me do whatever I can, and I know that I will have the strength to carry forward.
Yeah, and I just wanted to maybe add a little bit to the wisdom that you shared. In the times of, I'm going to use uncertainty loosely, because even if we didn't have pandemic, things are uncertain. There's no guarantee that will wake up in the morning, right? Everything is uncertain. You kind of have to look at the certain plans. But what I'm thinking that a lot of, especially smaller business owners, don't understand the term of pivot. You've got to pivot. You've got to be, and that's when you said agile, being agile, I think is so important. Even so, more important right now because we are in that massive transition in the way we're conducting business or living life. I'm also seeing that those who said nothing is really written in stone, we need to adjust, we need to pivot. And yes, I need to stand strong and face real adversity. Am I going to have to lay off people, or am I going to be able to find some type of interim solutions? It all requires our ability to pivot. And I think a lot of businesses during this time found better ways to look for other solutions. So that article I mentioned in the beginning said that over half, which is 56% of leaders, say the global pandemic has harmed their mental health, with 37% finding it more difficult to switch off from work and 41% experiencing higher stress levels. And a quarter says that they have experienced imposter syndrome during this period. And because of that, quite a bit of CEOs started looking for executive coaches, seeking a safe space for clarity and finding some ways of identifying how they can adjust to those difficult times. Are you observing that kind of same type of
Yes, that article I think is really stating the obvious. The pandemic itself is a challenging economy or environment. Of course, if I was a business leader or a business owner, cash flow is important. That's being disrupted. And the business survives through cash flows. It's not the number of contracts you have. At the end of the day, it's how much cash is coming through and you can keep your business going. And when cash flow itself is uncertain because there is no alignment across the world right now, there is no alignment, then you could prepare for something and the next minute something else happens where it's not within your control. And we're starting to work in such small geographical spaces where if your business, the volume of the business relied on going beyond your geographical reach. So whether it's a suburb or a city or county or state or country or region, it does create stress. I mean, that is part of owning or running a business. The other thing is also with mental health is we've never talked about that. I mean, if we start looking back at when even the mention of mental health in the corporate or in the business setting, it's only been very recent. And it's not until high profile examples or icons that start talking about mental health where it starts to become okay to talk about it. It's still not okay to talk about it. And if you're unable to talk about it, then it just becomes sweeping it under the carpet. Now, you also mentioned that people are looking more towards executive coaching. All successful CEOs, I've noticed, either has a mentor or executive coach. And the reason for that is that, one, you just don't know everything. And it's always good to bounce ideas off people. I mean, we do it in our personal life. You know, why should it be different in your working life? Especially now that we're working from home, you know, where the lines are blurring between you as a worker and you as a family person. You know? So the importance of mental health or the imposter syndromes of that self-doubt, one way to address it is really you need that positive feedback or validation in what you're doing, you know. And some of it is also having a ego tantrum.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Talk about
you
that
know.
briefly.
So ego tantrum is, you know, I just want more recognition. So I'll still think that I'm not good enough, and I want people to praise me.
Well, in that situation, the coach is not going to be a solution to an individual's well-being, because coaching is never going to be successful until an individual is ready to let go of the preconceived notions that I am the best, I know better. When an individual is ready to basically say, I am ready to evolve. I don't know how, I don't know what the best solution is, but let's say for some reason the people in my organization are no longer performing the way I thought they should, and taking into the consideration that it is a leader's responsibility to adjust. Again, that's that pivoting part. Those leaders that I've been catching up with, they are saying, in fact, that I'm noticing that I am communicating with my teams more. I want to read one of the responses from one of the individuals. He's a leader. I did ask, what is it that you're doing to adjust to the current environment? And it seemed that that individual thought that he was a great communicator and kept the team together during those times. And now I'm going to quote, as a leader, I make myself accessible, always ask about my team members' well-being during one-on-ones and their families' well-being, listen closely and empathize where necessary. It's important that companies recognize the hardships induced by the COVID restrictions and work with employees through flexible work options to keep the workforce intact. If I were to talk to somebody before, perhaps they will tell me that they would want to be more approachable, but it's always business got in the way. It was too busy to increase that level of communication. And now it turns out that even if it's that ego tantrum kind of situation, you can't satisfy the ego or raised validation until you start really giving that extra attention or communication on a human level with your team. You have to increase it. Well, at least from the successful ones that I've heard from, that was one way that they were able to keep the loyalty of the workforce in the difficult times.
What you just shared is very interesting, and you demonstrated the role of an executive coach. I mean, you have a great basketball player on the court. When does he or she know how to pivot? Through experience and through the coach yelling at them. Because at the end of the day, the coach is there to ensure that you reach your full potential along with the entire team, so that he has your best interests in mind and also the team. Now, when you're at the pinnacle of success as a leader, it's even more important, because a leader, whether it's in business or in sports, you're still a top performing talent, and top performing talent always has a coach. I mean, it's just part of it, because how else are you going to progress further? The other thing I really liked about what you shared was you talked at one stage about being able to let go, and imposter syndrome is a bit of that. Are you able to let go of the situation? It's one of the toughest things, because as a leader, you feel responsible and you have total ownership of it. The buck stops at you. And so with that, when you are completely into something and you feel ownership of it, of course, it's very hard to let go, whether it's in personal relationship or personal life or in the working life. When you feel for something that aligns with you, it's very hard to let go of it. And that's part of the importance of having a coach or group of individuals that are able to reflect and allow you to explore, but also give you the stakes in the ground to show you that, have you actually thought about this completely, with the intention that all you want is for the best for this individual or the potential that he or she can reach.
Sometimes you just have to have the outside source who can see things a bit more objectively. And the coach's role is not to give an advice unless the coachee does ask for that type of advice. But it's the moment of exploration, having somebody to be there and you knowing that that person is going to offer not only the best tools, but also will challenge your automatic thoughts, beliefs, and sometimes they no longer serve you. Maybe some thoughts and beliefs were okay prior to COVID, running the organization. Well, what if those are, those thoughts are no longer going to be the ones that will save the world? What I'm noticing that a lot of wise individuals have succeeded through these times because they realize that humility is really something that needs to be exercised on a daily basis in order for revenue to flow. That doesn't mean that you need to be weak all the time. Yes, you need to make courageous decisions, but at the same time, you need to realize what the individuals who are working for you and with you are also dealing with. So you've mentioned, and we've talked about it before, introspection. So the practices such as meditation, or if somebody doesn't believe in meditation or yoga, exercise, breathe, which I am saying the same exact things. You are exercising and breathing when you're doing the practices of physical practice of yoga, and giving yourself space. One of my clients, she's an executive client actually, when I spoke with her, she said, ever since we've been working together, I realized how important that headspace is. That's how she decided to define it. And I agree with that. I don't care what wording you're using and what label you're assigned to that activity. And if you want to call it headspace, fine, just do it. Give yourself that time. And then employing the coaching or mentoring or basically some type of outside source who is going to give you that unbiased opinion, who is going to push you into the direction where you might not see where you need to go, who will help you build the next action step or plan, and then hold you accountable, is going to be super important. What I wanted to ask you, Tim, is regarding the 21-day meditation challenge that we just did with Sri Ravi Shankar. What do you think that specific challenge bring into the world of the CEOs who actually took us up on following it and doing it? Have you gotten any feedback from the leaders?
As you said, it creates that headspace for people. And it was a very easy way of easing into the various different types of meditation for 21 days. It was really an introduction, and hopefully one did enjoy it. With 21 days, it's sort of you start to get used to it, and you don't need to be challenged to keep going with it.
Yeah, I found it extremely helpful. I mean, the big change for me was accountability part. Although meditation has been a part of my life for years now, I think following the journey along with the masses, because the number of people that attended live sessions was just extremely high. One of my clients said, prior to this challenge, I could not get past 10 minutes. And I told her originally it was okay. 10 minutes. I don't care if you do 5 minutes. It's the matter of starting somewhere, right? She was able to sit through more than 20 minutes. It was a big revelation. So she pushed herself to the limits while discovering something more about herself. And I was absolutely proud of that person. But just to hear that feedback, I think that's amazing. Pushing your boundaries to learn about yourself and internal world, and really challenging to look at the consciousness in a completely different way. It's life-changing.
Yeah, thank you for that, Alex. It's incredible.
I think so too. I think so too.
Thanks, Alex. Today we covered imposter syndrome and how it's related to self-doubt, what to do about self-doubt. And also we looked at the important role of an executive coach, mentors, and just people around you that can hear you out. And also we all looked at the headspace, meditation or mindfulness, whatever you want to call it, but the importance of headspace in making you far more.
Thank you so much, Tim. And I think that if our listeners can take anything away from this conversation is to just simply realize that sometimes being kind to yourself by reducing self-doubt and looking at the achievements, and additionally probably paying a bit more attention on where you can spend time productively. In the cases with some CEOs, they found that communicating with the teams more frequently and more honestly actually helped them. So finding those ways to adjust and pivot to the way business is conducted is probably going to be important. And always try to raise the levels of self-awareness. Who you are in this moment means a lot. You are part of something bigger. I am a part of something bigger. So be kind to yourself. All right. And to wrap it up, we just want to say thank you so much for listening to our podcast. Please, if you enjoyed our discussion, like and comment below. Subscribe to our channel, The Third Side of the Coin, on YouTube. In order to learn more about executive leadership and career coaching, resume writing, and organizational development strategies, go to XCaliberCoaching.com. And of course, to learn more about meditation, introspection, and how to live life according to your values, check out The Art of Living, where Tim is a faculty member, teaching a lot of leaders since 2003 on how just to be better humans. That's my opinion. All right, we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.